This week in the astrology is a powerful, powerful week. It is a powerful mother effer, okay? It is not playing around. We are getting a nice, great shamanic transformation journey to the gates of Hades, inside and then through it. And really, this week is just one of those weeks where it's like the only way out is through. This is a transformation that is very, very powerful and that is hitting us on multiple levels at once, and that is what's making it so powerful. It's not just the Sun and Mercury crossing Pluto. We get that every year. It's not just Venus crossing Pluto or just Mars crossing Pluto, which we get like every 2 years. No, it is all of them crossing Pluto pretty much back to back to back to back. So we are getting a massive, massive, like reality check Plutonian slap in the effing face this week into next week. And honestly, it's necessary. Yes, it is. I know. I hate to break it to you. I know this is like, damn, more shadow work. Really? Wasn't 2025 all about that? But this is, oh my God, it is so necessary for all the right reasons. So just listen the F up and follow along with me and you will understand. So excited. So please watch, watch the first half of this video. I know so many of you comment and you're like, I always watch the first half. I'm not talking to you guys if you already watched the first half. I'm talking to those that don't, or those that just may be newer and may not know. The first half is where all the tea is, but we are going to briefly break down what this means for your rising sign at the end, okay? At the end. But to know how this is going to play out for your rising sign, you have to watch the first half, because this is where I give the description of what the F we can expect. The rising sign horoscopes are just where you can expect them. I give a couple examples, but not many, because I just went over all of the juice of it in the first half. So I hate repeating myself so many times. So basically, that is how you watch one of my videos. And if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Tawny Michelle. I am an astrologer, but really, more importantly, I am spiritually intelligent. I am into all things spiritual. I use astrology as a divination system, and I have a gift for breaking it down in a way that really makes it realistic, relatable, and prominent in your life, that can give you actually grounded, practical advice on how to use these things and where to take them, basically. So with that being said, I have so many notes. Like, I've been literally channeling all morning for what's to come with these transits. I have so many notes. We're going to cover so much, and I'm going to make it fun. Okay, I'm going to make it fun. So let's go ahead and get into it and talk about what the F is coming up this week into next week. A huge death and rebirth for all of us. Okay, like, this is on so many levels, like you cannot even understand. Okay, so it's a really, really big deal. And so first, we're really going to talk about what is just coming this week in general. As you can kind of see by looking at my chart here, we have this huge conglomerate of planets lining up basically to move into Aquarius from Capricorn. Now, the reason that this is so rare is that they're all doing this back to back, okay? And I'm going to give you some dates to look at for some of the individual transits, because we haven't really had all of these planets doing this back to back. But first and foremost, like, this is definitely a time that we will look back on, that we'll look back on several months from now, and a year from now, 2 years from now, and be like, holy shift, that was a shift. Like, this is one of those, like, destabilizing times, but it doesn't have to be negative. And I'm going to explain what that means. Like, yes, there may be some things that come up that, have some fear tied to them, but that's life. Like, we deal with that every week, right? So, but like, I think that this can be used very positively, because the last time that we had anything somewhat similar to this, I'm calling, was in about February 2022. We had Venus and Mars both conjunct Pluto at the end of Capricorn, okay? And I particularly used that energy for one of the most like prominent awakenings I've ever had in my life. It literally was like an alignment of my masculine and feminine energy, and I took the fuck off and created so many amazing things I never, literally in such a short amount of time that year. It was like insane, okay? So this doesn't have to be like a super oh my God, my life's gonna crumble energy, okay? Like, yeah, some things may be crumbling in our lives, but that's gonna be obvious. What's gonna crumble is what was already either not true or what was already dead and long ago left, okay? It's been gone for a while, honey. We gotta stop beating the dead horse, all right? That's what may crumble. But for a lot of people, this can be a very intense, just shift on an energetic level, a perspective level, a physical level, and on so many different levels that we are that we can make a lot of change, like a monumental amount of change in a very short amount of time, okay? We're going to actually kind of be flirting with destruction this week. Like, we're going to want to get down with the sickness. And this is for a reason, and we'll talk about it. But again, this is going to be a time where when we look back on it, it's like this started a massive new era in our lives in some way, shape, or form. It literally is like a bomb going off in our lives. And this could be a very dramatic, obvious thing. Something happens outside of you and it causes this ripple for you to make changes, or it could be something that happens inside of you first, like a very prominent, but maybe somewhat silent inner shift where you're just like, you know what? I'm done with this, or you know what, I'm ending this, or you know what, I'm fucking going for this. Like, whatever it is, it can be different for different people, but this is like a coming into alignment that's happening here. And what we're coming into alignment about, one of the biggest things that this is about is what needs to die so that we can live, okay? Where are we just going along with life? Where are we holding on to things that are just, that honestly, by holding on to it, it is causing destruction in our lives. It is causing us to crumble in other areas of our lives. It's like, what needs to end so we can begin again? This is so much what this is about. And we're going to see this with Venus crossing Pluto. I'm pretty sure she does this tonight or early tomorrow morning at the day I'm filming this. So basically like Monday night into Tuesday morning, Venus is first going to cross Pluto. And then we're going to have Mercury cross Pluto, then the Sun cross Pluto, then Mars cross Pluto. And there's a story that they're telling here in the order that we're crossing, and we're going to get to that too. But we are deconstructing what is no longer real, what has been decayed and dead for a while. Okay. Like, again, where have we been beating a dead horse? Where have we been holding on to things that it's like time for them to go? And it's like a virus, like it's causing us to just, it's like melting into every other area of our lives, you know? And these can be subtle things. Again, some of us may not even realize Pluto's very psychological. It's like the shadow. It's like what's in the shadows, what we can't always see. So over the next like 2 weeks, you may start to see, oh, holy crap, I didn't even realize that was going on. Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes up from the underworld. Pluto is the underworld. Pluto is Hades. So it's like there's going to be a lot of stuff that's coming up from the darkness that maybe we weren't even aware of. Maybe we didn't even realize that was still going on with us. Like, we're going on in a situation and boom, now it's here. And now it's causing us to, it's a massive ripple of change that starts happening. So whatever is superficial, surface level, performative, and all for show, you know, versus what's true, real, raw. Like these are going to be really, really big topics that, you know, we're going to really see coming up. So we're first going to talk about what this means with Venus first moving over Pluto here. So I'm going to just circle these two so you can see, because she's going to start us off with this big Pluto Hades initiation. It's like Pluto's sitting there at like the beginning of Aquarius, like 3 degrees Aquarius. It's like setting up this like whole gate of Hades, this whole like threshold. It's like the gatekeeper of Aquarius right now and has turned Aquarius into like its home. So it's like, okay, if you want to come into, you know, the gates of the underworld, if you want to cross this threshold, you got to cross through me first. And that means you're going to have to strip down. You're going to have to strip down and get real with me. Like, no bullshit. You're not just going to perform, you know, love. You're not just going to perform appreciation. You're not going to fake it till you make it here. You're going to tell me the truth. You're going to show me the real you. You're going to show me the raw depth of what's really going on with you. I want to know the truth before you can just come in here, you know? And so we have this descent of Venus basically happening, so to say, metaphorically, not like actually astrologically, but this descent of Venus into the underworld of Pluto as she passes Pluto. And so this is about really, you know, any Pluto transits are going to be about death and letting go. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean like literal, although that definitely could happen for people. I think that we'll see that more in like the world, you know what I mean, than anything. But I think that any attachments to the past that we have, okay, any deeper truths that are, you know, that we've been hiding, or secrets that we've been hiding or keeping or fantasizing about or attached to, okay, anything that we are still just, you know, obsessing over from the past, anything superficial, any repressed desires, any secrets around love, any deep repressed desires from the underworld that we haven't claimed or that we like have been shoving down. Also, like, you know, anything from the underworld to do with our relationships, powerful shifts or transformations in love and our values as well. Like, this can be a very confronting energy of like, where have we not been following our true values in our lives? Like, where have we been just going along with what we think the world wants or what other people want or whatever the case may be? You know, like that could be coming up as well. This could be like a lot of topics around intensity and depth in love and friendship and matters of the heart with Venus as well, like where we are craving more depth, more rawness, more realness instead of like, again, the superficial. This can also be a lot about like dark goddesses. You can see a lot of dark goddess energy coming up, dark feminine energy, a lot of topics around wealth and power, a lot of topics around temptation and seduction. Now, these are more like a bit on the shadow side, obviously. We can also just see complexity, a lot of complexity that has been knotted up and needs to be untangled to do with relationships or social relationships, to do with love, to do with our desires, to do with, attachments, like where things are just really complex and they're kind of knotted up, and it's like we need to untangle that knot to get to the root of it, to get to the bottom of it. We're also going to see any desires that we have around control or feeling out of control or feeling that we need more control. Taking control of something, is going to be really big. Like, okay, where do I need to take control of this? Or where do I need to own my power in this situation instead of like maybe blaming other people or waiting around like a princess for someone to save me? It's like, no, like I need to own my power. I'm not a victim in this, etc., etc. Could also be like, Venus is about merging and coming together. It's why she rules relationships. She's the goddess of love. So it can be a lot about like learning to merge with our shadows and our shadow traits. So certain things that we've repressed regarding love, relationships, etc. How do we unravel those, get to the root of those, and really love ourselves back into wholeness, back into fullness? This could be where we feel deprived of comfort, love, desire, like where we feel deprived of those Venusian topics or deprived of appreciation or intimacy or whatever the case may be. This can be deep and harsh truths in love and desire. Transactional relationships or relationships that feel transactional, that we're kind of feeling like, I feel like I have sacrificed too much of myself, or I feel like, I haven't, I've maybe been very selfish and I haven't like really sacrificed much at all, and I need to get real with myself about that. Could be either or. Could also be a lot of like facing a lot of loss and grief in relationships as well. Pluto can bring up the topics of trauma, loss, grief, again, these past roots. Like I really keep seeing like just these like cords that are just going to this like to the past, it's like a graveyard, but we keep holding on to them because we're like, well, maybe one day, or maybe it'll change, or for whatever reason. Really, it's just out of fear of moving forward. It's out of fear that we made some mistake, or it's out of fear that we can't somehow redeem ourselves, or that we can't own what we need to own in the current moment, in this current time. Okay, so there again, a lot of topics to do with loss and grief in relationships or from the past, power dynamics in relationships or with other people. It could also be crisis around love, romance, money, intimacy, friendships, things that come up and it's like, okay, again, like I said, some things could happen external to us that cause us to shift or have to change or find that power within ourselves to face it. Okay, so on the other side of this, like Pluto and Venus can bring up this very extreme type of love, obsession, possession, the ride or die, Bonnie and Clyde type of thing, where it's like, where it's just toxic. And this can be a huge wake-up call in us realizing, holy shit, I've been really codependent, or this is really toxic and I need to get out of this situation. So that could be it for some people as well. And then in Aquarius, when we think about the sign of Aquarius, a lot of this is going to also bring in like breaking out of conventionality. Aquarius can be both how we fit in and how we stand out, and and how we go against fitting in, basically. So a lot of topics surrounding belonging and being human and progressing in our future, and kind of contributing to something bigger than ourselves, teamwork, collaboration, friendship, relationships, our social lives, technology. So all of these things can be really, really huge with the sign of Aquarius. Longing and topics around belonging and longing and obsessions that we need to face or release. This could also be with Venus Pluto, like a desire to face fear, like an edgy desire, or like a fear, like I have this like archetype in my work that I call like the fear-facing fanatic, and this could definitely be one of those times where it's like, what, I'm so done with being stagnant, I'm so done with not taking risk in my life, I'm so done with not listening to myself, like I'm gonna just start go facing my fears head on. And so there can be like this desire, this seduction to like go face our fears. Like we can find that extremely attractive right now. there can also just be fears coming up in general, you know, letting go of something that we've been chasing as well, something that, again, we've been like clinging to that it's time to let go of. Letting go of dark attachments, like toxic attachments, commitments, agreements. And I really do think that with this Venus-Pluto conjunction, working with goddesses and feminine energy archetypes can be very, very helpful, especially the start of this week, okay? So the last time that we have seen this Venus-Pluto conjunction, this is ending a cycle that started in December 2024. So you may see some things that were happening in December 2024 coming back around or coming to completion or coming up to be resolved around this time. So that's one of the dates to remember, because this Venus-Pluto cycle started then, okay? So she started, you know, she started the last Venus-Pluto cycle that we had started then in the sign of Aquarius. So it's been, you know, basically like a year, a little over a year since that has happened. And so think back to that time and think, you know, if there's anything coming up from that time period. Like I said, we also had a similar conjunction, but not completely, between Mars and Venus and Pluto in the beginning of it was end of February, beginning of March 2022. So what was going on in your life around that time that like what happened in your life around that time, you know, compare and contrast just to kind of get maybe an idea of what this could be like for you, especially to do with relationships, feminine and masculine energy, your willpower, your drive, and taking action on things that you want and desire. Also, you know, anything to do with love and desire and attraction and attachment and all of that stuff, like what was going on in your life back then. Again, that happened in Capricorn though. So now it's happening in Aquarius, and there's a lot more involved, like the Sun and Mercury are involved this time. So it's definitely a bit more this time, and it's a little different since it's in Aquarius, but it's still something that you can kind of compare notes on. Now, the next thing that I really want to talk about here is that with this, you know, conglomerate of planets that's going to be crossing Pluto in Aquarius, like I said, it's really deconstructing what is no longer real or what is no longer really alive, like what no longer really has a heartbeat in our lives that we've been trying to keep alive in some way, shape, or form, because out of some fear that we're not facing or some way that we're not wanting to take ownership over our power and what we're capable of. And so again, what has been dead or decayed, what, like, you know, where have we been continuing to try to revive either some old version of ourselves or some old era or time period or relationship or, you know, job or like whatever it is, like where have we been trying to, you know, bring back to life something that has been dead and gone, or where have we been trying to keep something that is crumbling together that is ready to crumble and be rebuilt and be reborn. Okay, so this is what we really need to be thinking about around this time. Again, what is superficial, surface level, performative, and, you know, all for show versus what's true, real, raw. So this is kind of like finding and locating a virus on your computer, like finally finding it and realizing how much it's been affecting. And then you finally have to get rid of it. Like you finally have to do the work to get rid of it. And it sucks. Maybe, you know, like maybe there's like definitely it takes a certain level of work and going into the depths of your computer to get rid of it. But either way, it's like we finally got to get rid of this. And once we get rid of it, it like really hits this reset button where you really start realizing, holy shit, that refreshed everything. I can't believe I took so long to get rid of that. I can't believe I took so long to do something about that. I didn't realize all of the different areas of my life it was bleeding into and affecting. This is kind of like that, okay? It's like where our lives have been infected by some virus that we have not been wanting to face or look at, and where it's like time to get really honest with ourselves, really brutally honest with ourselves, and face whatever is hidden or beneath the surface or that we've been repressing or putting off. So this is also like, you know, because Aquarius is opposite of Leo, this is oftentimes like, you know, this can be a bit humbling to the ego. We'll talk more about that when we get to the sun crossing Pluto and here soon. But like, this can be humbling to our egoic identities and selves. Like it can feel like, okay, great, it's not all about me, or great, I was taking things personal and realized like it's really not. It can be like a fraying energy that it's not all about us and that something wasn't as personal as we thought it was, but it can also be a bit humbling. And so with that being said, this energy can kind of show us where we fly too close to the sun. In other words, where we think that we can do something, or that we have, you know, some kind of God complex about something, but it ends up not lasting. It ends up not being, again, it ends up being superficial or performative or whatever. Like, it's not actually the truth. And so this is the time that, like I said, it's gonna, Pluto, as each planet goes across Pluto, each one of these planets is getting stripped down to you know, it's truth, you know, like it's getting stripped down to its vulnerabilities, so that we can be honest with ourselves and we can move forward with power and with truth and let go of what is dead and gone. Okay. And so again, with this happening in Aquarius, I think we're going to see a lot over the upcoming weeks, like the future of technology, systems, social changes, teams, collaborations, dystopia versus utopia, you know, themes of AI progressions, technology, you know, all of these different, like, very much Aquarian techie types of things. Okay. So we're now going to talk about Mercury, because Mercury is going to be the first to cross Pluto. Mercury will be the second, I should say, to cross Pluto, not the first. Venus is the first, and we went over that already. Mercury will be the second. So Mercury will be the second, and that is interesting to me because Mercury will pass the sun. So we'll have like a sun Cazimi on January 21st, which is where Mercury is going to come into a conjunction with the sun right before it passes the sun, and then meets Pluto before the sun. And in a way that's really interesting to me. It's like, okay, hold on. Mercury's like, I'm going to align with the sun, drop off messages from where I've just been, you know, chilling behind the sun for a bit. And then now I'm going to go cross Pluto before the sun, because it's almost like it's delivering or starting a new cycle, delivering a new message or meeting with Pluto before the sun meets with Pluto. And so what this appears like to me is that we may have some kind of clarity, or we may have like things from the past start clicking. And then Mercury goes and meets Pluto and crosses the threshold, you know, into the gates of the underworld, and has some kind of conversation or reality check or transformation as it meets with Pluto. And then the sun meets with Pluto. So what that kind of tells me is that there may be first some kind of news, conversations, communications, messages that bring major transformational insights in the coming days. So it's almost like Mercury is getting the message first. So it's almost like Mercury's delivering some kind of news first, like we're getting the news first before, or we're getting some kind of perspective shift first before we get the like embodied shift with the sun and Pluto. You know, the sun is like the light. The sun is like when the sun meets with the planet, it's more of this embodied, like conscious shift. But with Mercury meeting Pluto first, it almost feels like there's some kind of news or some kind of message that needs to come first that may either indicate this next upcoming shift with the sun and Pluto, or cause this upcoming shift with the sun and Pluto. And so how this could play out, basically, I think, you know, a lot of Mercury Pluto things are really about asking deeper questions and confronting deeper truths, deeper thoughts, and, you know, internalized questions that we need to confront first. So this can be a lot of like investigating and probing and getting to the root issues and causes of things. You know, a lot of also major psychological depth, deep truths, you know, really profound, transformative, intense messages or communications, conversations that are really happening, like something being revealed, some kind of story, news story especially being revealed, or something being revealed outside of us through conversation or communication. Some kind of deep truth that is definitely transformational. A really powerful perspective shift that I think can shift how we're perceiving things, how we're thinking about things. And then boom, the sun meets Pluto, and then like it causes us to start making big changes within ourselves. And so again, another thing that this can bring up to Mercury, Pluto, like hacking stories or, things going on with hacking. News about, again, a lot of the Aquarian topics of like, society and like technology in the future and progressing things and like social changes and all of that. But overall, I think Mercury conjunct Pluto is like, it's like we're getting a message first. It's like something's either we're getting a message or some kind of shift in our perspective. And then the sun meets Pluto. And once the sun meets Pluto, going to move on to now the sun and Pluto. Once the sun meets Pluto, that's going to cause us to, again, become conscious of what needs to change, become conscious of the depths, become conscious of the shadows, become conscious of whatever's been repressed or hiding, or what needs to die, what needs to be let go of, what we need to shed, etc. So this can look like a major ego death for a lot of people. We can see kind of this old version of us or old past stuff in our lives, like that we need to let go of, that needs to die. There's also with this, like kind of confronting situations that help us to realize our own shadow. And anytime the sun and Pluto meet, it really is like this, tale as old as time, the hero versus the villain. Light and dark, good and evil, right? Like the sun is literally like our consciousness or source energy, and Pluto is the underworld farthest from us, what we can't see. We need the sun to see. Pluto we can't see. And so when these two meet, it's this clash between dark and light, and so we can start seeing that in a lot of ways, that those archetypes, that kind of hero's journey in a lot of different ways over the upcoming week, whether it's something that we're watching or stories that we're seeing or topics on social media or like whatever the case may be, really could be big surrounding this archetypal battle. But with the sun meeting Pluto, it's not always necessarily a battle. It's almost the sun kind of surrendering and becoming conscious of what it is, what's going on with Pluto, what's going on in the shadows, what's going on in the collective conscious. And plus, the sun is farthest away from its home. It's in detriment in Aquarius. So in Aquarius already, the sun is a bit more self-sacrificial. It's a bit less about itself. It's a bit less about the individual. It's a bit less about shining and being the one that people pay attention to. And it's more about being a cog in a greater machine. And so that can also be part of it. We can kind of see this archetype of like the anti-hero, or kind of this acceptance and ego death around like just being one of many, feeling like, okay, well, what is special about me? What is different about me? Like am I just going along with things, or am I really different, or, whatever. Again, issues or topics around belonging and fitting in versus standing out and all of that. So I think this can be like a humbling reality check, ego death kind of transit. But again, what do ego deaths do? It's like, yes, a version of us or a perception of who we once were really dies, so that what's really trying to be reborn for this next iteration of time, for this next era, can be born, can come through. And we can stop spending so much time holding on to what was, or some past era, or some past version of ourselves, or some past time. And so this is why this is necessary and crucial, and I think can be very healing. Like, I don't think this, like, yeah, for some people it could be like a crisis or a mini crisis that comes up that pushes them to really look inside of themselves and change the way they've been doing something, or change something about their lives, or change a relationship they're in, or change a toxic situation they've been in, whatever. For other people, this, like I said, can literally be just a very deep conversation with yourself, or like a deep inner knowing that hits you, that doesn't even have to be loud. It can be silent, like happening within you, can be somewhat introverted, and you can just have this huge, almost internal bomb go off of like, what, I'm done, or what, I have not been being true to myself, or what, I am done living in fear about XYZ, or I am done putting up with shit that I don't want to put up with anymore, or I'm done living the way that I've been living, or I'm done clinging to the past and trying to beat this dead horse, like whatever it is. Like there can be kind of this reset, like I've been saying, this like ending and beginning, this like just doneness. I think a lot of people may feel almost like we're canceling something, like we're canceling, that word just keeps coming to me, or like deleting, like this old stuff. It doesn't mean that we can't take the lessons with us forward, or that we can't have love for that past version or past time period or person or whatever the hell it is. It just means like, okay, I can't take this with me anymore. For me to progress, I've got to let it go. Got to let go of this attachment that is only serving my ego. Because again, the sun is very humbled in Aquarius. I've got to let go of this relationship or this friendship or this friend group or whatever, this environment that's only been like just feeding my ego or feeding an old version of me. I've got to let go of these, this old version of me, or do this inner child work because I've been sabotaging myself. And I've got to look at that so I can get to the root of it and have some kind of regeneration healing process where I can finally let this go. So that is really we're really gonna see with the Sun Pluto. Now, Mars Pluto. So then Mars is going to move into Aquarius and cross Pluto's gates. Again, Pluto is the gatekeeper here, waiting at the gates of, right there in the beginning of Aquarius, just like having the gates of the underworld right there. And so when Mars crosses Pluto, this is where everything really ramps up, because Mars ramps things up. Mars like, look, I'm here and I'm explosive and we're going to go big or go home, baby. Like, so Mars and Pluto is a whole different combination than the rest of the planets. Venus Pluto is like this weird futuristic, like love affair, fantasy, deep secretive darkness of like, I don't know, having relationships with AI or something, which honestly could be something that we start seeing more of. I know it's already happening, but that could also be something we see this week. Kind of a good example, especially with Mercury being not far behind it. And, the sun, like I said, the sun and Pluto is like a death and rebirth of the ego, the self, the consciousness, a massive shift and change in our perspective, our perception on ourselves and on our lives and what's important to us. And Mars Pluto is a very like primal, very primal, animalistic, visceral energy that's like, I am fucking going for it. And by this point, when Mars conjuncts Pluto, which I believe won't happen until like early next week, at this point, once that happens, whatever we've realized, whatever we have come to terms with our underworlds and with our darkness and with our shadows, we're going to be done. Like once Mars crosses Pluto, it's like, okay, I'm done. This is what needs to be cut off. We're taking the scissors, we're taking the axe, the knife, and just cut that baby off. Like Mars and Pluto gives us a very like aggressive willpower and determination. Sometimes it can be like ruthless, it can be reckless and relentless and confrontational, but it definitely helps us to hone in on something that we know we need to do, or that we know we need to change, or that we know we need to, make huge strides with, and freaking do it. Like that's what Mars Pluto helps us do. So this can be like a fed upness, a doneness with a certain something in our lives, where we are now putting in the action to make the monumental changes that we need to make, cutting off toxic situations, people, habits, that are not progressing us forward. Again, like this determination, this determined action towards renewal or regeneration, really powerful catharsis. It's this kind of like intense tunnel vision, this intense laser focus, like and really also seeing where we've been potentially overexerting ourselves or chasing after something, and taking things to extremes, and it's not working and it kind of crashes here. That could be it for some other people. So this is, and again, with this happening in Aquarius, this is really like, okay, we are transforming things and situations through cooperation, collaboration, teamwork, for progression, for the future, with technology. There's going to be so many probably like technology announcements, news around AI and all kinds of stuff around this time. And yeah, I think that overall though, like this is really where on a personal level, we really are like, okay, I've not only seen my dark desires or my dark attachments or my the repressed stuff going on in my love life, the shadows of my love life, and what I want and my desires with Venus. I've then seen some of the darkness of my mind or conversations I've had or some kind of disrupting news or news that kind of changes my perspective in some way. I've then also realized where I have not been embodying, some of these deeper truths within me, and where I need to cut off old versions of me, where certain things need to die so that I can rebuild, regenerate, and start again. And now I've got the balls to fucking do it with Mars. Like, Mars gives us the balls to make it happen, the balls to move forward, the balls to carry the torch and effing go. And, it's kind of like, I don't care if it's weird, if I'm strange, if I'm different or whatever. Like, I'm just doing this because I've got to do this. Mars kind of does bring that individuality back into the situation, but in a kind of beautiful way, where that individuality and like owning what makes us different and owning our power in that, and instead of being like a victim to it, actually creates a chain reaction that can inspire other people, or that can help us connect with other people like us and find our tribe or our so-called people in the world. So either way, this week is freaking insane. I mean, and you guys are going to have to update me throughout the week. Like, I truly, genuinely want to know how you guys end up feeling this week, and where you end up feeling it, and what is it, what happens, because there's just so much. Like, definitely, I think we could see, I mean, obviously when Sun crosses Pluto can definitely bring some deaths or losses of like leaders or people in the spotlight, celebrities, news about, the passing of someone that was really well known, or someone that was like a Sun-like figure that was, again, known, seen, a leader, etc. Mercury, Pluto definitely can bring news from the underworld, dark truths, hackers, hopefully not theft, but that's on the shadow side as well. Whistleblowers, information revealed that was supposed to be forbidden or secretive. And, Venus, Pluto can bring up news of affairs, news of, relationships breaking up, divorces happening, things like that. Either way, I think on a personal level, which is what I usually focus more on, we are getting major upgrades. Like, I think Pluto in Aquarius is a bit more about just redefining this area of our lives, but also upgrading it. Like, upgrading our software, so to say, like upgrading how we systemize things and all of that. So this definitely could be a week where systems, the next couple weeks, and honestly in Aquarius season, where systems become very important. What are our systems for things? What, if we work somewhere where we work with other people, what are the systems for things there, whether they be technology based or not? What are our systems in the world, or in our country, or in our environment, or with our day-to-day lives and the things that we do on a day-to-day level? Like, how do we, what are we interacting with socially on a day-to-day level, and how do we categorize ourselves within that greater social environment? This is really like a lot of collective unconscious stuff, where we may start seeing a lot of things that have been hush-hush, or remnants of things that like we've already been seeing, but maybe like it hasn't been named in some way. Like, maybe it hasn't like actually really had like the spotlight on it. So like, once the spotlight's on it, it's like we're like, oh, that's right, I've been seeing remnants of that, and now I can see why. Just notice a lot of the themes that you're noticing this week, and ask yourself, like, I wonder if any of this draws back to, the astrology. And it's like, oh yeah, Pluto. Like, I can tell you, just like within the last week, I've already seen so many of these themes, like, and the different stuff I've watched and stuff like that, like, so much about like decay or death, or fears and paranoia about the future of tech, kind of true crime and stuff like that to do with the future of tech. Also, like, intense complex relationships and attachments from the past and old versions of us and, dark and deep, thoughts and questions and like all of these different things. And so just really watch out this week for where you see these themes, because they will be there. Notice, again, what you're seeing come up on social media, what conversations you're having with people in your life, friends that are coming to you, coworkers that are coming to you. I think a lot of people may definitely experience like either a deepening in their relationships or a lot of truth revealed around change that has been repressed, or changes they've been wanting to make that have been repressed, desires that have been repressed, values that have been repressed. I think a lot of people are going to kind of feel that death rebirth energy, that letting go of something, but that also like really strong, powerful energy of rising into something and taking our power back by facing the things that we feel have power over us, that we've been giving power over us because we fear them and we're obsessing about them, we're paranoid about them, and we're giving our energy to them. And so this is like a process of us taking our power back and being like, okay, you're not going to have power over me anymore. Like, I'm not going to keep feeding this toxic cord, like I said, I keep seeing things like cord, like wires, very Aquarian too, like wires going back from the past. It's like, are we going to unplug this, or are we going to keep plugging it back in and hoping that the spark is still there, like that's this kind of energy. So anyways, let me know down below, please. If you stayed until here, please comment down below and let me know that you did. And please let me know what you thought about this video and where you see these things coming up for you. I really, 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 truly want to know. So please do that. Comment down below, badass alien. If you stayed till here, I appreciate you guys so much. And we're going to get into what this means for your rising sign. To also just talk about where this is at in your chart briefly and what you may be, what themes you may be seeing because of that. So anyways, I love you guys. Let's get into what this means for your rising sign. Alrighty, Aquarius Rising. Okay, so really quick, we're just briefly going to go over what this means for your sign. And this is all happening in your sign, in your first house. So this is such a big deal. This is like a total reboot, upgrade, deletion, all simultaneously happening of yourself, your body, your health, your vitality, like how you carry out your purpose in this world and your place in this world and who you are to yourself, who you know yourself to be, and how you move with this vessel that you are in. So with all of these huge Pluto transits happening, crossing Pluto into your first house, all of these planets are about to be in your first house. Like, this is so big. This is like, you're definitely going to be feeling a lot of drastic change in a lot of different places. And likely because this is happening in your sign, you're going to be like the one initiating this change. So you may be initiating how you are going about your appearance, your style, but also just like anything Venus related in your life, like designing things or the way that you're presenting things or the way that you're presenting yourself in new ways, right? Like this could definitely be like a massive change in just appearance, aesthetics, and like all of that within yourself and how you express yourself in your life. Not only that, but a massive change in how you're communicating and where you're communicating, your skills, platforms that you're using to communicate, what you're wanting to communicate about. A lot of deep personal thinking and questions about yourself with Mercury crossing your sign later this week. And then also the sun eventually crossing your sign as well, and crossing into your sign and crossing Pluto. So major death and rebirth around old versions of you and, again, how you express yourself, your sense of creativity, your sense of vitality, your sense of health. Could be a lot of things that you just kind of feel like that fuck it energy with this week. Like, I'm done. I'm canceling this. I'm deleting that. I'm getting rid of that. Like, and where you just really get back to listening to yourself and really considering your own values and what's important to you and your own priorities that make you feel like you are in alignment with who you are and who you're meant to be and like you're progressing. And then once Mars moves in there, like early next week and crosses Pluto, that's going to be like a massive bomb going off with like yourself and just feeling like, okay, like I am ready to, like you could feel this intense determination, almost this like ruthlessness or this recklessness of really, just triggering this like built up energy of what do I want to put my focus on and where and how, and I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start really cutting off all of these things and start motivating myself towards things. But you do want to be careful because you could come off very confrontational. Again, you could come off very ruthless, reckless. It's like, you just want to make sure that like, and as an Aquarius rising, I'm sure it would be because you had some kind of like higher purpose behind it, you know, obviously, but you want to make sure that, I always say, like in our fight against something, we want to make sure we don't become the very thing that we're fighting against, because I just, as a Libra, I see people do that so much. It's like, well, you just basically became like the people that you don't like, and now you're over here doing the same thing as them, and then mad at them for doing the same thing you're doing now. So how can you even say that you're different, or that you are mad at them for doing it at this point, right? Like, so just want to make sure that you just want to watch that Mars and Pluto transit. It's a good, nice reset. You had one of these back in, I want to say February 2024, maybe end of January, but somewhere in that time frame of end of January into February 2024, I'm pretty sure. So think back to then, what was going on then. This could definitely be something that, it's like, you know, with everything just moving out of your 12th too, like you just released a ton of habits, you just released a ton of stuff that you no longer align with, and maybe you've been catching up on rest, you've been catching up on healing, like you have been rearranging your structure around your habits in your life, and any self-sabotaging cycles or patterns or whatever that have no longer been serving you. And so this is where you really get this reboot into potentially like a new version of you by letting go of old versions of you and coming back into your power. This could also be major change in your relationships as well, as the sun rules your 7th, Mars rules your 3rd. So there's just a lot going on here where there could be a lot of big changes, you know, in your life right now, and with yourself and who you know yourself to be. So just be on the lookout about that. And we're going to go ahead and move on to Pisces risings. So for Pisces risings, this, you know, huge conglomerate of planets that's going across Pluto this week and into the beginning of next week is happening in your 12th house. So it's coming from your 11th to your 12th. So if things have felt very social and like you have had a lot of events or a lot of networking or a lot of, you know, maybe stuff going on with colleagues or groups of people in some way over like the last few weeks, that is all now changing, and it is really going to be a lot more about what is going on behind the scenes with you, getting, you know, like kind of potentially like a hibernation energy, but also like a massive subconscious reset. Like anything that's been repressed in your psyche or in your subconscious could definitely be coming to light around this time. You could definitely have a lot of hidden repressed desires, attachments, habits, cycles that start really making themselves known to you over the next couple weeks. You could have a lot of like old baggage or habits or, you know, self-sabotaging behaviors that really start making themselves known to you over the next week. Any internal conflicts as well, like, and that's going to come up more as Mars moves in at the end of this week, but like any internal conflicts, anywhere that you're like suffering behind the scenes and haven't recognized it or named it, accepted it, healed it, transcended it, ended it, you know, whatever it may be, that's what you're really going to be starting to notice. And it could be a time where you do feel a bit less motivation, or you do feel a bit less social or extroverted. You may feel a bit more introverted and kind of like in the zone at this time, like, you know, maybe getting into kind of like little weird healing modalities that are more unconventional, but that you really are into or whatever. That could be a really, really great use of this energy. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a time of going within, being more introverted, like healing yourself, letting things go. This would be a really great time to see like a hypnotist or to do some kind of psychological work, shadow work, all of that. Really, really good time for that. If you start feeling like, you know, like you're feeling this and it feels overwhelming in any way, I'm not saying it would be, I'm just saying for some it might be, again, really get into whatever healing modalities you're really interested in. Like the 12th house is like one of the best times to do that, and it's where you can get a lot of shit done. Like I would just kind of be like, look, there's some shadow work you may need to do over the following few weeks, and it's okay. Like you're in the cocoon phase, it's all good. And then everything will start moving into your sign like halfway through February. So, and everything, you know, well, not everything, but some things will move in by like halfway through February. So, and then you'll get this total reboot and like who you are and your appearance, and it'll be like all about you, and you'll feel a lot more revitalized. But right now, just focus on resting your mind, focus on like where you're putting your mental energy. Also, this could be a time where you are really kind of resetting on like certain expectations or desires and attachments around work, around finances and relationships, because some of these planets rule these other houses for you. So keep that in mind as well. Comment sexy Pisces rising down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to move on to Aries risings. So for Aries risings, this is happening in your 11th house, darlings, and definitely a very social, busy time. Like things are about to you're about to have a lot of social, futuristic stuff, and just be prepared because it's a sneak peek for what's coming, okay? Because the nodes are shifting here later this year, so there'll be a lot of time. But right now, it's kind of like a bit of a small little bit of a taste for what's coming. That is also very powerful in its own right, honestly. There's going to be a lot of changes and big, kind of maybe seemingly heavier, darker, futuristic stuff that you are anticipating or that you're starting to focus on. I mean, for some of you, it might not be dark. For some of you, it could just be like, I don't know, like maybe you work in technology and you're like, hell yeah, but, and I'm not necessarily saying technology itself is dark either. Like, obviously, there's definitely cons to it, but you get what I mean. But anyway, so this is definitely a time where you could be like really thinking just about like society at large or the greater good or, certain groups of people, or maybe you have a lot going on with other people, colleagues, teammates, work stuff. Maybe these are career relations. Maybe this is networking events. Maybe this is marketing stuff. Like either way, you're working with a lot of other people starting over the next several weeks. And there's something going on socially or something going on to do with your aspirations and ambitions on like a worldly social level, or at least a personal social level. This could be, again, like work events, social work events, or you like being in charge of constructing some kind of system with certain teams for work or for something that you are doing in the world. Maybe you have an audience. Maybe you do content online and you have like an audience and you're, it's about your audience in some way or about what you want to offer other people, or either way, it's about other people. Okay. It's about social shit. Okay. Is the name of the game here. And this is changing really massively for you. You could have a lot of really deep, profound, and powerful perspective shifts. You could be called to lead, called to rise into an occasion, or called to speak at an occasion, or called to organize something social, or be a part of certain events or something along those lines with this energy. This could be a huge reset, rebirth, reboot of your social life and aspirations that may involve other people, or you working or collaborating with other people in some way to get some kind of message out there. There could be a lot of really deep, powerful connections and conversations that are changing, revolving, coming in, going out right around this time. So you really want to watch for that. There could be a lot of deeper questions around who you trust, who you align with, who your ideals align with, how to maybe get everybody on the same page or be part of something where people are on the same page or something like that for some of you as well. There's just a lot of change, a lot of powerful change going on here. So let me know down below, Aries Risings, if that's relating with you guys and how it's relating with you guys. I'd really, really love to hear your feedback down below. Comment sexy Aries Rising if you watch till here. I appreciate you guys. And we're going to move on to Taurus Risings. So for Taurus Risings, this massive Pluto and Aquarius party with all of the planets, well, not all of the planets, but a lot of the planets, is happening in your 10th house. And this is really big. This is like you are thinking about the greater collective whole right now. You are thinking about greater society, the people, what your legacy means, how you can make a difference in people's lives, and what things look like on a bigger level, on a bigger picture in terms of your life, your legacy, or in terms of just the world at large, and how you can in some way facilitate something that is more helpful to other people in your career, or what your purpose even is, or what your place even is in the world, is something that you may be very deeply contemplating right now. And this could also be coming with the crumbling of like a lot of old ideas, old attachments, major perspective shifts, news or communications, or, changes with, systems in your career or at work that are really causing some of these changes to happen, or some of these deeper contemplations and deeper questions to really come up this week. This could definitely be a week where your role in your career or in the world or within your legacy or within your life is really highlighted. Like, what is that role? What do you want that role to be? What do you want to embody? What do you desire to embody? Have you been speaking your truth? This could be a time where you get very vulnerable, or where you have a very honest conversation with like a boss, or within your career, within your work in some way. This could be a time where you're really considering your relationships career, in your career. You're really considering your connection with other people in your career. This could be a time where you're also considering like, how you want to move forward in terms of your career. Big relationship changes and questions could be coming up here too, especially as we move into next week with Mars, the ruler of your 7th, going to be going over Pluto as well. Like existential questions about if your futures align, if you and your partner's future align, if you guys want the same thing, or what changes need to be made there. What changes in your career do you need to make? What changes in the way that you're showing up for your work and your career and your work in the world that you need to make? Like, these are all going to be really, really big questions. You're really thinking about the future right now. It could be a really, really beneficial time to connect to your future self, and also a really beneficial time to detach from your past, to let something from the past die, especially once we get to that Leo full moon, which will be in your 4th house of home and family. It could be kind of highlighting where you may need to allow something from your past, or forgive something from your past, or accept something from your past that it's time to shed, it's time to let go of. So anyways, you're definitely doing a lot of really deep thinking about the future, whether for yourself and the people you work for, the company you work for, or whether for humanity, or whether for whatever, your future, your legacy, and your place in the world, and how you can make a difference or help other people, or do something bigger than yourself, or whatever, be a part of something bigger than yourself, and what that looks like for you authentically. Like, not just following something that everybody else is doing, but how can you embody that in your own unique way, where you don't have to be like, I think so much with this Aquarian energy that we've seen through the years is sometimes it can feel very black or white, where it's like, okay, you're either this or you're this, or you're on this side or you're on that side, or if you're not on this side, then you must be on that side. And it's like, no, like there's no middle ground, like there's no room for differentiation, like there's no gradient. And really, honestly, the truth is there's many gradients, because like I can be on this side of the gradient on one thing, and on the middle of the gradient on another thing. And so it's like, because we're multidimensional. And so I think that if you are contemplating these things that I'm talking about, because I kind of really feel like some of you are, a lot of that just kind of really came through intuitively. I really feel like it is more important for you to embrace and embody your true differences, even if those differences don't systematically, or I don't really know the word I'm honestly looking for here, even if they don't traditionally, I guess I could say, or conventionally align with other stereotypes, because that's the thing here. Like, Aquarius is very much about stereotypes, and so just because we feel one way doesn't mean we have to automatically align with one specific stereotype that also feels that way. It's like we don't have to just be a stereotype. We can do things in our own unique way and talk about our own. And honestly, people talking about their own beliefs and showing that middle ground, those middle gradients, I think really helps people come together, honestly, in the long run, because then it shows people like, hey, it's okay, that I believe this and also believe that and also consider myself this, and that I'm not on just one side, And so anyways, I don't know if that's helpful for some of you or not. Let me know down below. Comment sexy Taurus Rising. I'd love to know your feedback on that down below. And we're going to move on to Gemini Rising. So for Gemini Risings, this Aquarius new moon's happening in your 9th. And so it's somewhat similar to what I just said for Taurus Risings, but more in the sense of this is definitely going to be a time over the next few weeks where you are contemplating very deep psychological questions about morality, about integrity, about right and wrong, about what you believe about the world, about society, about the future, about humanity, about where we're going, about what's possible, about maybe conspiracy theories, or, other things like that with Aquarius in the 9th, like about things that are close to you. You could be thinking a lot about the future, but what you believe about the future. Could be thinking a lot broader in terms of, you know, things that are broader than just what's happening right here, right now in your like physical surroundings. You could be thinking more about what's going on elsewhere or somewhere else, you know. For some of you, this could be the ending or beginning of a major educational journey or era that you've been on. Maybe you're changing your major, or you're graduating, or you're getting prepared to graduate, or you are ending school, or whatever the case may be. For some of you, this could be a lot going on in terms of like citizenship, legal stuff. Traveling, you know, all of that. So it just kind of depends. But I think overall, there's a lot of futuristic thinking here about what you believe about maybe events that are going on outside of you. And there's a massive transition, change, reset, potentially awakening about how you see the world and what you believe and why you believe we're here, and what your purpose is, what your role is to play in that. You know, a deeper philosophical thinking, I think, is really happening here. And again, that could play out in like, where am I going in my life or in school, or where am I going in the world, or what's my place in the world, or how can I help other people, or how can I be a part of something bigger than myself. And I think there's similar advice here to what I just told Taurus, just because it's 9th and 10th, you know, the 9th's a little bit more educational, travel, purpose, all that, whereas the 10th is still somewhat purpose, but more about like, you know, future and building a legacy and what you're doing with your life and your career and all that. So there's a lot of similarities here though, but I think that, you know, it's not that you need to, I think so often it can be very endearing, or there can be a lot of social pressure to pick a side. And then if we don't pick a side, then we must be on the other side. Or if we don't, you know, agree with everything going on one side, then we're on the other side, or we're either pro this or anti this, and it's always one or the other. There's like not a lot of room for some middle ground, you know, stuff. And I think that as Gemini risings, this could definitely be true for you guys. With you having all of this Aquarius energy in your 9th house, you could be very pulled to jump into action to create or affect change, especially in the upcoming couple years to come in society or in the world, or educating other people or whatever. And I think you just want to be like, you know, aware that you are doing this from an individual place and not just jumping on a bandwagon. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that all of you are or will. More so, just a lot of lessons with Aquarius are like, you can think for yourself and think differently and align with other people based on similar ideas, but you don't have to agree with every idea that another person or a group of people has. Like, you don't have to be in some stereotype, basically. You know, Aquarius can deal a lot with stereotypes because it deals with like, you know, social systems, you know. So I think that there's a lot here about what do you want for your future, and really contemplating that, and what's going to progress you forward, and how you can also maybe help other people in your future with your mission. The 9th house can rule teaching and mentorship and stuff like that as well. So that could also be topics that are coming up. But this is a major change, a major reset, and your ruling planet Mercury is involved. Okay, so there's a massive perspective shift and how you are seeing this area of your life, how you're seeing yourself, and how you're showing up in this area of life and with yourself. Okay, that's going to be really, really huge. So let me know down below, Gemini Rising, if that resonated. I'd love to hear your feedback and hear what you guys are noticing coming up with all of this. So please let me know down below. Comment down below, sexy Gemini Rising. Go watch the first half if you missed it. That's going to clue you in even more. Moving on to Cancer Risings. For Cancer Risings, all of this Aquarius stuff is happening in your 8th house, and everything's crossing Pluto basically over like the next week and a half. So pretty much, this is definitely a time that is really, really changing up and bringing some really powerful deep resets and deep changes, deep transformations in your life on an intimate level, a psychological level, a financial level, and yeah, basically this is like a transforming of the psychological mind, a transforming of financial situations, and a transforming of intimate partnerships, relationships, business, you know, business deals and debts and anything that is owed to you or that you owe to others. It's a massive transformation of transactional situations and karma right now. And so This could be really, really huge, where you are going through a lot of really powerful, deep resets and transformations on your perspective and your attachments around wealth and power, and connecting with other people in the topic of wealth and power. Okay, so this could be really, really big for you. There could be a lot of deep changes going on with your partner and your partner's money, or the money that you guys shared together. This could be a really powerful time where maybe you realize, you know what, a debt that you had, you no longer have, it was like taken care of somehow. Or you are able to finally pay off your debt. You're able to finally like kind of cut something free or deal with something that was dead and take your power back in a really profound way. A lot of these changes, though, are going to be a bit more deep and psychological, because it's the 8th house, and so the ascendant, you cannot see really the 8th house. It kind of feels like you can feel the effects and the results from it, but it's a bit out of your reach. Like, it's a bit hard to grasp at times. But either way, there's definitely a lot coming up here to do with how you are changing in this area of life with finances, other people, working with other people, anything to do with investments, business, debt, but also like, the wealth that you're wanting to acquire, or the level of wealth and success that you're wanting to acquire in the world, and really changing your perspective on that. Now, this could also be news of something financial that you didn't know about that kind of comes up, or news for your partner of something financial that you didn't know about. For some of you, this could also be some kind of ending in a relationship, or ending with a partnership, ending with a deal or agreement or commitment with somebody else that you feel is just no longer working out, or that you feel is too complex, chaotic, and you're just done with it. There's kind of just this general massive power right now for you that can deal with transformation if you can take power of your mind and take power in situations. And what I mean by that is like having the ability to have some kind of self-leadership, self-autonomy in the situations you're dealing with, and not be the victim or not blame other people, right? This can be just a really, really powerful time where you are facing a lot of transformation of yourself and of, this area of life in some way, shape, or form. So, and you can understand a lot more about that if you watch the beginning. So if you didn't watch the first half, definitely go back and do that, because it'll give you even more insight, Cancer Risings. Thank you for watching. Let me know down below if that resonated, and comment down below, sexy Cancer Rising. Moving on to Leo Risings. For Leo Risings, my fellow Leo Risings, we have all of this Aquarian Pluto stuff, this whole conglomerate of planets in Aquarius crossing Pluto happening in our 7th house. Yay us, so more relationship stuff. If we have been having some really deep conflicts or questioning, contemplation going on about our relationship life, about other people in our life, about clients, business partnerships, how we relate with other people, our place in the world, how we categorize ourselves, the different social systems or stereotypes we're a part of, and also just our romantic, intimate relationships, our marriage, etc., etc. All of this can be coming to the surface. Like, if you're married, this could definitely be your partner. If you're not married, it can still be your partner if you're in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, this could be clients or just really any other people outside of you that you deal with. But either way, we're really questioning our commitments, our agreements, our attachments and relationships, if we're fulfilled, what we desire here, what our values are here, but also what needs to die. What truly needs to die, what needs to be reborn, what we need to let go of, attachments from the past that we need to let go of in relationships that are really clouding our judgment today, or really clouding our perception today, and that are potentially even holding us back, or bringing a lot of negative energy, or bringing a lot of toxicity, or bringing a lot of conflict and confrontation. It's like this whole week and a half that's really coming up, there's a lot of intensity and deep change that can happen right now in our relationship sector. And we can also feel from that, because Aquarius is our opposite sign, that this can feel a little bit like an ego death, or a little bit like we are not the most important person in the room, or like the spotlight isn't on us, or we're not really getting the attention that we would normally desire, etc. With our sun, the sun being in the 7th house right now, there's more of a focus on relationships, and where we kind of lose ourselves in relationships, or where we have lost our identity in a relationship relationship, or where we have been blaming maybe other people for our loss of identity in relationships, our part in our lives and in relationships, and where to get back to our own unique, authentic, individual selves with other people, okay? And not just sacrifice our identity to go along with a collaborative effort here, okay? So this can be really big and really show us where we have repressed desires, repressed secrets, repressed attachments, or where our partner does, where we need to have deep conversations, ask deeper questions, reveal certain truths, where we need to do some kind of shadow work to get to the root of whatever complexity we may have going on with us surrounding our relationships, whatever psychological stuff is coming up, or whatever stuff is coming up from the past, whatever past cords we need to quote unquote cut, all of this, old versions of ourselves that may need to die, that we may need to finally let go of and allow to crumble so that we can be reborn into something that feels more truer to who we are and where we're going and what we desire for our relationships with other people in our lives right now. Okay. This can bring a lot of deep revelations and a lot of deep change, but also a lot of intensity in relationships. It's going to be kind of edgy this week. It may feel like it's very easy for you to fight with your partner or fight with other people or be confrontational. And that would be a time where you got to really be aware of where that's coming from, Also with Mars, when Mars moves into Aquarius and eventually crosses Pluto, that's going to be a really atomic kind of energy that is very, very intense and visceral. Definitely once that happens, we've got to watch the edginess and the frustration. But by that time, I think we're going to either be done with a certain way of acting in a relationship or a certain way of being in a relationship or going about things in a relationship a certain way, or we may be cutting off some ties with some other people by that time in some way, shape, or form, or really getting to the bottom of some kind of frustration or conflict or complexity, tension that we need to resolve and get to the root of and let go of and dissolve so we can move forward. Okay, so this is a really, really, really big week for us, and it definitely is going to be a lot more about other people and who we are in relation to other people right now. So just be on the lookout for that. Comment sexy Leo rising down below and let me know how that ends up resonating with you guys, Leo. I'd love to hear your feedback. We are going to move on to Virgo risings. For Virgo risings, all of this Aquarius, all these Aquarius transits crossing Pluto are happening in your 6th house of health, day-to-day routines, how you take care of yourself, daily chores, tasks, responsibilities that you have on a day-to-day basis, your job. So these are all really big topics and themes that you'll notice coming up over the next several weeks. And this is a really big reboot and reset in this area of life. This could be a time where you really realize, I have fallen way out of alignment with my health or my health routines or my diet or the way that I want to, what I want to feed my mind on a day-to-day basis and what I want to use my mental energy for. I have fallen way out of routine with my own beliefs and my own, concepts around health, work, diet, responsibility, and taking care of myself. And for me to get back into that, I need to make some changes. And so you start kind of having this process over the next week and a half where you start really realizing these deep attachments that you may have to old habits, or where you have temptations, or where you have, kind of this relationship with, maybe things that are not great for you. And then you have this perspective shift, or maybe this newfound insight, or this news, or even this, you learn something new and it's a bomb goes off because of that. And then you start finally embodying these changes and working on your energy, your vitality, your mind and mindset, and really getting back into alignment with your own ideals and concepts around your health and what's important to you there, your values there. And then once Mars and Pluto meet early next week, that's when you have this massive determination and this ability to make really clear decisions and take really clear actions and start cutting things out that you need to cut out. And so these next couple weeks especially will be about you really ridding yourself of whatever's dead and gone, whatever needs to go, whatever habits need to be cut out, whatever old stuff needs to go. That's what the name of the game is going to be. For some of you, this could be about like coworkers and the workplace. So for some of you, there could be a lot of really major upgrades or really big changes happening with maybe technology at your work, or the way in which you guys, operate in some way, or teams, collaboration, working with other people, coworkers, etc. This could also be where there's kind of maybe some really big insights or changes to management or changes in leadership. This could also be a lot of conflicts or frustration in the workplace that you need to resolve. I would say that if you're a Virgo rising, just to be really careful, especially once Mars meets Pluto at the beginning of next week, to not get into any fights with your coworkers. It may feel very easy to like lose your shit, like a bomb goes off or like a volcano erupts, and just lose your shit over that person that you cannot stand. But it could be very, very detrimental. It could be very consequential around this time. So I would just try to just be aware of that, try to be aware of that. For some of you, this could be having to do with your relationships, as Saturn's going to rule this huge conglomerate of planets crossing Pluto, and Saturn's still in Pisces in your 7th. So this could definitely be like somehow you playing this out in your relationships, or your relationships having something to do with these topics I've named off. So let me know down below, Virgo, how that resonates and how that's landing with you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment sexy Virgo rising down below, please. Alrighty, moving on to Libra risings. This conglomerate shit show of planets crossing Pluto is happening in your 5th house of love, romance, your dating life, your passions, inner child stuff with actual children that could be going on around this time, and play, fun, intimacy, fertility, sexuality, all of that stuff, anything that you do for entertainment. So there's a massive reset or reboot or upgrade or death and rebirth kind of happening here, where you may be letting go of a lot of old ideals around romance or fun or dating or children or any of those topics I've named off, passions, hobbies, etc. You may start really kind of realizing that maybe you have not really been acting in alignment with your values or your interest in this area of life. Like the way I kind of see this is like, maybe you start realizing that you've been kind of participating in something that actually hasn't really been fun for you, or maybe you've been hiding some of the things that make you different, or some of the things that make you that make you stand out in some way, because you've been like going along with what you think other people want from you, right? Like, are your desires really your desires, or are they what you think other people want you to desire? Basically, like maybe your desires actually came from your parents because your parents wanted you to have that, so you kind of thought that you really desired it, but you really didn't, and now you're like, damn. Also, somehow this could be going into your work, your health, your, day-to-day routines, as Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius, and Saturn's in your 6th and Pisces still. So it's like, maybe you're really realizing certain differences that you're feeling in terms of the work that you do, or maybe you're starting to realize how you can make a difference in terms of the work that you do because of the things that you love, or because of the things that you're interested in. Maybe you're also starting to realize, like, certain things about your love life. Maybe you're desiring more intellectual stimulation, or more intellectual conversation, more, intellectual intimacy, basically. Maybe you're starting to realize that you have been raising your kids in a certain way, or you've had a certain relationship with your kids. That is all kind of also maybe based on how you thought you were supposed to do it, rather than what your actual ideals are. This is going to be really getting back in touch with your own ideals around these 5th house topics, your own ideals around what you love, what you're passionate about, what sparks your creativity, how you relate with your children, how you relate with your romantic partner, like all of this stuff, what you find entertaining and fun and interesting and inspiring, like all of that. Like, that's really kind of the name of the game with this energy. So there's going to be a lot of really deep and profound insights and perspective shifts, okay? This could also be facing some fears in this area, facing some fears or paranoia around love, intimacy, children, passion, creativity, etc. So really watch out for those themes over the next couple weeks, Libra risings. This is all really coming up so that you can get really honest with yourself and really just own what you truly desire and want, and own who you truly are and like your personal interest, and not feel like you've got to go along with something to please other people in some way, right? So let me know down below, Libra Rising, if that resonated. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, sexy Libra Rising. And we are going to move on to Scorpio Risings. This conglomerate shit show of planets in Aquarius crossing Pluto is happening for you in your 4th house. So this is literally like, let the past be dead. Let whatever is dead in the past die. Okay? This is also bringing up a lot of intense, you know, truths from the underworld or from the shadows or from the past or wherever about your family, your home life, your foundation, you know, your sense of inner security. And so what are the systems that you have in place for your home, family, and personal life, your internal life? And have you been aligned with those systems? If not, that's going to become very clear to you. What relationships do you have? What social interactions do you have with family? Or, you know, this could be like certain, you know, instigations or conflicts or, you know, relational, you know, intense relational dynamics that get kind of triggered within your family. This could be deep conversation or maybe even some news in some way, shape, or form, or a lot of looking into the depths of your roots, your ancestry, where you come from, your bloodlines, your heritage, your patterns. Things like that could also be very beneficial around this time and actually very healing, like past lives and karmic attachments and all of that could really be coming up around this time for you as well. But this is like a deep internal personal questioning of like where you come from and what you're here to do and how you fit in with your family or where you're from, or what you need to embrace that's more of yours, or where maybe you haven't been focused on home, family, and personal life, and where you need to get back to that because maybe it's important to you. This could be like remembering your priorities or remembering your values or remembering to appreciate the things in your life, like your family, your home life, your personal life, and the people in it, you know? So anyways, those are a lot of the different ways you could see this playing out, Scorpio Rising. Let me know down below if any of that resonated with you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, sexy Scorpio Rising. And if you missed the beginning, you are missing out. Go watch that. It can give you a lot more. So we're going to go ahead and move on to Sag Risings. For Sag Risings, this Aquarius conglomerate shit show of planets crossing Pluto is happening in your 3rd house. So this could be a lot of drama or maybe a certain like, you know, conflict or situation that comes up with siblings, maybe relatives, friends, neighbors, or in your local environment. Maybe you have like a really annoying neighbor and they get on your nerves and finally it's like they move, or finally you can't take it anymore and you like call a complaint or something, you know, or there's some kind of change here with Pluto, but it's also bringing up what you couldn't see. So like maybe you end up realizing like they were so noisy, but then you realize like there was like a reason behind it, and then now you feel like, oh damn, I didn't know all that, you know. And I'm just like making up random shit here. I'm not necessarily saying this is exactly what's going to happen, but again, this could also be with siblings. Like maybe there's something going on with a sibling and it really brings your attention to your sibling and being there for your sibling, or walking them through a fear, or helping them with a situation involving like power or attachments or whatever. Maybe this is about something going on in your location, your city, your town that's very disruptive, or that really changes how things are working in your general location area. Like maybe traffic's being blocked off, or, you know, there's something going on that's changing the rhythm or the system or how things are operating in your local environment or in your neighborhood, in your city, whatever, or in on your street, something like that. You know, maybe there's like road work or something like that. Or maybe there is some kind of crisis that happens in your town, or, you know, like not far from you, and it alarms the people of your city or town or whatever. Like these are just different ways this can play out. This could also be really calling into question your environments, your friends, the people, places, and surroundings that you surround yourself with on a day-to-day basis, your like day-to-day rituals, and anything that's like negative or toxic or whatever that's like holding you back and keeping you stuck. And so this could also be like, with this being your 3rd house, communication, news, like, so some kind of news or communication really dropping some kind of huge change for you, or you communicating some kind of deep truth, or getting in touch with some kind of deep truth, or that it's time for you to share, or changing your rituals and the ways that you do something with communication. Like for some of you, if you are a content creator, this could be like, starting to post on more platforms to reach more people, or changing the rhythm of your content, or the production, or the operations, or the system behind your content to make it more smoother, like something like that could really, really be happening here. Either way, I definitely think this is going to have a lot to do with your home and family life, though, too, your personal life, like what's going on behind closed doors. And maybe it's kind of pushing you to be honest about it, and to really, honestly, I think overall, these transits going across Pluto in your third are really changing and transforming your own concepts and your own thinking on life in general, or what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or just so many different topics of your life, what you believe, what you communicate to other people, how you relate with other people, also your relationships with other people, your love life, your habits, your health routines, etc. Like all of these things are really coming up and can change in the context of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis in your environment. Like for some of you, it could be like, you know what, that's it. I am finally going to this like health boot camp thing up the road from me, or online. Like I can't take it anymore. For others of you, it could be like, you know what, my sibling is going through a really hard time right now, and they asked to come stay with me for a few weeks, or my aunt or uncle or cousin or whoever, or I have a neighbor that's super loud, but like now that's finally ending for some reason, or I really thought that I knew or believed this one thing, and now I'm kind of like not 100% sure anymore, but I still feel like I need to talk about it, or talk to people about it, or like find people to relate to about it in some way, shape, or form. Like this is really about like the places, people, systems, rituals that you relate to in your day-to-day life, the concepts, etc. as well, and what's changing in this area of life. So let me know down below, Sagittarius, if that is helpful. Comment down below, sexy Sag Rising, if you watched till here. Thank you very much. And we are going to move on to Capricorn Rising. Last but not least, Capricorn Risings, this Aquarius shit show conglomerate of planets crossing Pluto is happening in your second house of finances, assets, possessions, what you own, your priorities, and what's important to you, and what you really depend upon to survive. All right, so these are a lot of the topics that you're going to see starting to really come up over the next couple weeks as these planets like one by one move out of your sign and into your second. It's been really all about you and this massive reset, reboot, upgrade of yourself, and really coming back into alignment with yourself. But now it's going to be more about, okay, and what do I do with that? What do I create? What do I supply? What do I depend upon? What do I bring in for myself? And that can be so many different things. That can be the food we eat, or the house we're building for ourselves, or the money that we bring in, or the things that we depend upon to survive in some way, shape, or form. So our possessions, assets, etc. So it's like, I think that this is a time where all of this is really getting a massive change as all these planets are crossing Pluto as they move out of your sign and into Aquarius. So it's like you're really seeing where maybe you've gotten overly attached on like a toxic level to certain possessions or certain things that you thought you needed, that maybe were giving you a sense of false self-worth that maybe you really didn't need. You're starting to see the mechanisms and the thinking and the systems and the ways in which you go about things that cause you to maybe have certain toxic habits or certain toxic priorities that end up making it before other priorities that you really have. Things like that. This could also be a massive change in how you see this area of your life and what you actually desire from the things that you own, the things that you have, the things that you depend upon, your priorities. This is like a complete transformation of what's important to you and your priorities and what you depend upon. Okay, and that can go into money, assets, possessions, finances. This could be definitely a time where you are getting rid of a lot of stuff you don't need anymore, or where it's time to start ridding yourself of stuff you don't need anymore, that is just no longer aligned with you, or that you no longer want to be attached to in some way. That's going to kind of be the name of the game here. You could be cutting a lot of things off, getting rid of a lot of things. It's kind of a destructive process, like a destructive breakdown, to create something that feels more in alignment with where we're going, that feels, you know, like better. This could also be where you have allowed others to dictate what's important to you, or what you prioritize, or what you want in some way, shape, or form, or what you have. You know, like you could be kind of just going along, I don't know, with like whatever a partner wants, you know, in terms of your finances or what you have, or like whatever in some ways. Or you could be spending a lot on things that are not that important to you, and it could be, it's kind of more of like a rational time, like getting a lot more rational about what you want and how you want to progress with what you buy, the money that you have, the things that you have, what goes out and what comes in, basically, and like what you have, your resources, and being a lot more discerning about that, and seeing the value in what you have, you know, and being a lot more systematic with how you spend potentially, or what you're doing with your resources in some way. So let me know down below, Capricorn Rising, if that resonated with you. I'd love to hear your feedback down below on what did resonate with you, what you are noticing come up this week. Definitely let me know. Comment down below, sexy Capricorn Rising, because you are. And if you missed the first half, go back and watch that. There's so much there. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next one.